So thank you very much and welcome everybody. I'm very happy to be back in Berlin. It's always like coming home and very happy to see all of you again. I was asked to say some things when I was here, and I was thinking what to talk about. And since these days, there is lots of conflicts and war and things like that, I thought it would be appropriate to say something about that. And there are lots of prayers. I'm sure you have read them, in Buddhism, in Tibetan, like Shehi Pache Shiriso, Nangka Pache Namdaso, the outer obstacles kind of dissolve outside, inner obstacles dissolve inside, and secret obstacles dissolve in the space, like that. And few times people have been asking me, what is this, outer, inner, and sacred obstacles, animals, enemies, and problems, and things like that. So I thought maybe that's a good subject to talk about. And I don't think it's something new to you. It's something different, but another way of looking at the, and trying to deal with things a little bit different approach. Usually, when we talk about outer, inner, and secret Buddhism, outer is something that seems to be out there. And then whether it's an obstacle, whether it's an animal, whether enemy, not animal, whether it's a problem, anything that's outside there, Of course, everything is related. Everything is dependent, interdependent, from Buddhist point of view. Nothing is totally one way or another, and no relationship is not like that. It's all are related, interrelated. But outer means something that looks like or seems like or considered as something coming from outside. And then inner obstacles, inner enemies, inner problems, same thing, is something that is within us, and which is very much, very much a very important element, important cause of outer problems. So therefore, inner obstacles, inner enemies is you know, if you have no inner problem at all, then outer problems will be not very bad. You know, it doesn't harm you so much. So therefore, inner problem becomes more, you know, very important from Buddhist point of view. And so therefore, you know, and it is something that we have to work on, of course, as a society, as a group, as a whatever, but mainly on ourselves, as the inner. Then secret. What do you mean by secret? You know, it's one way. Secret means something that we don't usually know about. But many times it refers to something that we think it's a solution, but it's actually a problem. Yeah. Sometimes our own kind of way of thinking that I'm really solving these problems from whether it's inside or outside, it's, you know, but that problem, it's that solution itself, if you don't do it in a proper way, or too much or too little or something like that, unbalanced, it becomes a problem by itself. That's what we usually call secret, because it's something that we don't know about. You know, it's not easy to know. Sometimes we think it's a, you know, it's the solution, but then, you know, not because it's not the solution by itself, but because, you know, something that we miss something. We, you know, something is not totally in the right way of dealing with it. So therefore, it becomes a problem. So I thought I would use these 3 days to talk about these 3 things. And as I always say, but don't do, I thought this time I would spend lots of time in discussion. You know, I like discussion. I like lots of discussion. I like inputs. I want to learn from you. But I also like questions. Doesn't matter how bad the question is, how silly the question is. You know, I used to be known for the silliest question makers. You know, and I was proud of that. That he can ask the most silly questions, and people used to appreciate that actually, because many people didn't dare to ask these very, very silly questions, and I was proud of asking those questions, because actually those questions sometimes are the most important ones, because, you know, we need to learn the answer of these questions, and most intelligent people think that they already know, and even if they didn't know very clearly, they would not dare to ask, because then they would think that, you know, the people will feel that he's such a, you know, such a stupid person. Anyway, so now to start with the outer enemy, you know, when we have wars, when we have any kind of conflicts or negative things, I think even like diseases and pandemics and things like that, this could be considered as outer obstacle, outer, enemy. Now, obstacle, enemy, what do you mean by enemy? Enemy is something that is harming you, that's causing problems and troubles and, difficulties for you or your people or the people in the world. And that's what we call enemy. Something that doesn't allow you to achieve what you want, what you like, prevents you from getting or doing or attaining what is desirable, is called an obstacle. Yeah. So in a way, it's same. In a way, it's more or less same. So therefore, when we have, any of these obstacles, outer obstacles, of course, we feel bad. We don't like that, and it's a big problem, and we try to solve these problems, and sometimes the problem is seems very big and very difficult to solve, and therefore, sometimes we feel very hopeless, not, and what can you say? We feel small and ineffective, and kind of there is a problem, we have to solve it, but we can't solve it. We don't know how to solve it. So we feel very frustrated. We feel sometimes very stressed, and sometimes, I sometimes don't find the words nowadays, depressed. Recently, just last weekend, I was participating in a conference for the weekend about the, environment. And there were very many experts who knew a lot about all this environment problems and, things like that. And they were giving lots of data about, all what we have achieved in last 100 years in the wrong way. But it was so depressing for most people, people were getting really completely, almost hopeless. And really, there's no hope. What can we do? There's nothing we can do. It's such a big problem, because if you look at the data and the facts and things like that, it seems almost unsolvable, and it seems almost too late to do anything, even if people kind of come together and do something. For the whole weekend, I was just trying to trying to kind of little bit bring some kind of a positive feeling, and a little bit hopefulness. Otherwise, then why do you have this? We make so much efforts to bring so many people together to try to do something, and they go completely like hopeless. So I didn't, I remembered what Akon Rinpoche used to say, I think most of you may be knowing him, he's the one who built the Samiling, in Scotland and things like that. And he was helping a lot in Tibet, to preserve the Tibetan, culture and things like that. He used to say that if it is not about something that is impossible, it's not worth doing. Only if it is something impossible to do, then it's worth doing. Actually, his biography kind of, they wrote a biography about it, kind of about him, and it's the title was, it's not worth doing unless it is impossible to do. It's a little bit like that, and especially, the Buddhist practice is also a little bit like that. Bodhisattvas, bodhicitta is in one way impossible. What we want to do is, we want all the sentient beings throughout space, to bring them to the, the most, highest lasting peace and happiness and, final enlightenment. And you said that if it has to be done by myself alone, I will do it. Doesn't that sound a little bit impossible? But that's what we make promise when we take Bodhisattva vow, well, not little bit, it's literally impossible in a way. But, but that's the most grand, the most greatest, most, important aspiration. That, there can't be better aspiration than that. And then you try. And also, I think we need to understand, we need to understand one thing. This is, I was also trying to, that if we believe in interdependence, and things are really interdependent, everything is interdependent, everything has many causes, many conditions, many elements, There is nothing which is just because of one cause, and because of one condition, because of one or two elements. It's many, many different, And we know, that, the way things are is because of all these different causes and conditions and, elements and, situations that have happened before. Nothing happens just out of the blue. Everything that happens has a long sequence of causes and effects, and then it happens. So it's not really easy to just blame one person or one situation, or things have been building up, in many different ways, in many different issues and things like that. And that's why things happen, whether it's, bad things or good things, it's because of all this. So therefore, anything that's happening has its lots of causes and conditions and things like that. But is it like, what can you say? Is it, again, the word is missing. How do you say it? Predetermined? Is it predetermined? Like it has to be like that and there's nothing you can do about? From Buddhist point of view, it's not, because, yes, if we don't do anything, it will go that way. But it is not predetermined or
predestined.
I think there's another word, but doesn't matter. Predestined. Yes, that's the word I was looking for. It's not totally predestined because, because it is made of so many causes and conditions and elements that if somebody or some people or one situation, if we can inject in something into that, it could become different. Whether it's for the better or for worse, that's why something that looks very kind of big and very immovable and very unsurmountable sometimes needs only little push or some little thing, and then it could actually change. Yeah. And therefore, I think it's not totally, anything is not totally, unsurmountable or unchangeable or totally beyond any, because there's nothing which is not changeable, everything can be changed, everything has to change, everything does change, everything does matter. I was one time just walking around the area, just enjoy that beautiful temple and also the nice countryside atmosphere. And there was a lady, French lady who was there. She told me a story about a film. It's an old film that she saw. Maybe some of you have seen it also. She said it was something called like Wonderful Life or something. Anyway, it doesn't matter. She said it in French, which I'm very good at, like German also. She said in this film, it's a very old film because it's just in black and white, there was no color. So this man, he's, he's a kind of ordinary person, and then he has a wife, and he has lots of problems, and then he's very, usually lots of problems, and then so he's kind of what can you say? He's depressed, and he's and he wants to go and kill himself. So he goes, I think, on top of the bridge and wants to, jump over the bridge and kill himself, suicide. And when he gets this, then the angel appears and said, you know, you have a choice. You can choose to go back, and you can choose to go forward and die. But before you choose, I'll show you a little kind of view of your life, what life you have lived till now, in a very short way, you know. And what would have happened if you were not there, and what would have happened because of your life so far. And then this, you know, was going on. And he saw that if he was not there, then what would have happened? Because there was a man in that, you know, area, he would have become very, very rich and powerful. And then he would have made the life of everybody around like a hell, you know, and all kind of problems. Everybody would have been very, you know, in a very difficult and negative state. But once he kind of spoke against that person, he spoke against this person and did something, whatever. I have. It's okay. What? So because of that, the other people were also encouraged to, you know, to not just, you know, kind of be dominated by that person. So therefore, it's all changed. And the whole area or this village or whatever became much, much better. And lots of people, you know, everything became much better because of him. And because, you know, he didn't do that much, but, you know, whatever little thing he did had a very big effect later on. But he would not have known that, you know, because he can't know what would have been if he was not there, you know. So, you know, any of you have seen that film? Elder people? Huh? Huh? You know.
The director is Frank Capra. The name of the movie Is Life Beautiful? And the actor is James Stewart.
Yeah, look.
I saw the movie in 1977 and saved my life.
Oh, yeah. You know, it's like that, you know. I think sometimes it's important to think from that point of view also, you know, because otherwise, you know, these days, you know, there's so much news, so much information, but not very good ones most of the time. And then it makes us feel totally like, you know, discouraged, hopeless, depressive, and, you know, it's not very good. I mean, it doesn't mean that everything we can change, everything we can solve, everything will be good, not necessarily, but, you know, it's possible. Anything is possible. And we don't know how tomorrow will be, you know. It could be worse also, but it could be much better also, yeah. And it's not necessary to think that there's nothing can happen, it will only be bad, you know. I thought this is important, you know, very important for us to remember and remind ourselves, especially in this kind of, you know, situation now in the world, where there was this, you know, terrible pandemic, and the pandemic is not yet finished and there is a war happening, and then I don't know what's going to happen after that, or, and not just war happening, but there are lots of speculations or, threatens and things like that, that there will be nuclear war and there will be third world war and, all kind of things. And then there's so much, economic problems everywhere, the prices of everything is going up, and that's half of the world will die with hunger and, and things like that. And, it did really raise lots of, lots of things. So I think we need to try to understand this. We need to live our lives. We need to live our lives as happily and as joyfully as possible today. Even if it looks not so good future, we don't know what future will be anyway. Yeah. Sometimes people are so worried about, the future, about the lives of their children. Of course, it's not that we should not worry. I mean, we should not be concerned about the life of the children, life of the grandchildren, of course. But too much overpowered by that is making our life miserable and making our children's life miserable too. That's not good. So that's why this is like that. So therefore, when we try to face these challenges, counter challenges, we need to, we need to understand the impermanent, interdependent situation, and and then whatever, every one of us are in a different situation. Some has certain education, certain knowledge, certain power, certain situation to influence each other, help each other in certain ways. And if we would just use those, and do our best, then that probably, we can't say, might actually cause lots of, help and lots of difference, for lots of people, who knows. So therefore, it's when we talk about being a little bit more positive, it's not to say that everything will turn out well at the end. It's not really like that, but that, we have to do whatever possible, as best as we can, and live ourselves as best as we can. And we try to make our, actions as best as we are in the situation now. It doesn't mean that we have to do something that is totally beyond our ability, or, something that is kind of, something that we are totally, not in that, we have no understanding, no knowledge, no power in that situation. But we do at our level, at our situation, in our capacity, and that can have probably, this, what they call it,
Snowball effect.
huh?
Snowball effect.
Snowball effect. there are many other words of this kind, you know. There's also this one, the butterfly, yeah, butterfly effect. They said that one butterfly kind of flapping its wings in Amazon forest can create a hurricane somewhere else. You know, this is, it's like that. It's like that. There's also, I read this story about somebody is smiling to someone, made somebody the president of America or something like that. It's not impossible. It's the effects of, it's quite snowballing effect. Good way or bad way. I think both ways. So therefore, I think how I live today, what I do today, is not necessarily insignificant. Sometimes we feel that I just lived today, I didn't do anything, there was no big things happening. But then that doesn't mean that it's always like that. Yeah. And then when of course there's problems in the world. But there have always been problems in the world, I think. There was never been a time when people said that this is the best time of the, in the history of the world. They always thought this is not the best time of the world. It's always like that. You read their stories and biographies, so their feelings at that time, they always feel this is the worst time, more or less, So there's always problems. But then, we have to face that. There's no choice. We need to face whatever is there. And then there's no guarantee that I can solve the problem, but at least I can try to face that in the best possible way for myself and for the others. And because if we think and if we feel that, oh, that's so bad, then we will get depressed. It's very easy to get depressed. We just have to focus on, on this much of the problems that's going on, and just think about that. I think it can make us depressed for life. There's so many things to be depressed about. But that's not useful. It doesn't really, it doesn't solve any problem. So we try to, yes, we should be a little bit aware of those things also, but also, focus on some good things, some things that I can do, some things that I have done, some things I might be able to, work on, if it goes well, it's very good. But if it doesn't go well also, it's okay. I tried, I tried, there's somebody saying that, it's much better to have lived a life where I can feel that I also tried, than to feel that, I did nothing. So, so this, I don't think we need to talk about all the problems. We all know it's everywhere, Any problem? So this, and so therefore, especially, when we have outer problems, obstacles. Of course, we need to, try our best to, to change that, to solve those problems. That's, and sometimes it can be solved, sometimes can be solved. Sometimes we have to live with the problem. It's not that every problem that we can have in life can be solved also. But, that problem or difficulty or situation can become something that can totally, destroy you, totally overwhelm you. Or it can be something that, you can take it, you can, it's difficult, it's not easy, but you can, sometimes we can solve that and then it's very good, but sometimes we can, we can learn to live with this, and I think it's important to understand that, it's very important to understand that. It's not to say that, we hope nobody has to do that, but, sometimes it's like that. Like one, which we all have to do, is our old age. Yeah, we all have to become old, whether you like or you don't like, you can pretend not to be old. We can make lots of and then if somebody says, oh, you look young, and I can be very happy, which is nice, but I'm not really convinced. So we have to go through those things, and then we will be sick one day. Everybody has to get sick, and we will die. In the same way, we will, we will also lose our dear and near ones, and lots of other problems, I saw a film once in India, in a Bollywood film, Bollywood film, and there was a lady. I think she was an actress, or she was a big kind of CEO of a company or something like that. She was very like, very young, very beautiful, very, very rich, and very, like she had very nice dresses and big, nice, beautiful, expensive bags and things like that. And then she was flying to Delhi from somewhere, maybe Mumbai. But then somehow, she couldn't, because of the weather conditions or something like that, they couldn't land in Delhi, but had to land somewhere in Rajasthan, very remote. And then she was very upset and things like that. And there was a man who was like very jolly and very, very outspoken and very like kind of happy. He could get a taxi because it was very difficult because it was so remote. And then he said, if you want, we can share the taxi and go to, Delhi. and it was a little long, long drive. And then, she said yes. I mean, she had to, there was no choice. So they drove together. But, there were lots of problems. The taxi broke down completely, like often happens in India, especially that time. Then they had to take a truck, and that there's another problem, and all kind of problems after problem. And she was saying, "I must get to Delhi. I have to attend this meeting. That important. It's costing me, like millions of." And he says, "Yes, but doesn't matter. It's okay. like." So to make the film short, finally they arrived in Delhi. And he really helped her, but she's angry with him all the time. And anyway, finally he goes away, and then but then she feels that actually he was very nice. If he was not there, she would not have, made it. And the way he did, and he said, she learned lots of things, and she actually was very, she was not, but she became quite grateful to him. And then she wanted to go and invite him for a kind of something in a party or something like that. And then she tried to find where he was. He pointed out where he was, but didn't go there. So then she went in and asked other people and things like that, and she found out that actually he was living in a very small, one-room flat, and his wife was in coma for last 3 or 4 years. And he was the one who had to take care of the wife and, do work and everything and things like that. And in spite of that, he was so jolly and he was so helpful. And she was totally, impressed. And, the whole story changed, So, it's like that, some people, you have lots of problems, but you kind of, because if you have these problems and then you feel totally, overwhelmed by that and completely, then it's even worse, no? So therefore, this kind of, way to deal with situations and life and problems and things like that, I think we need to understand this very deeply, that, everybody has to face certain situations and problems and difficulties and, negative things. And we need to do everything possible to change that, to solve that, and sometimes we can solve it, then excellent. Sometimes, it takes a longer time to solve. Sometimes, it doesn't solve for a long time. Sometimes we have to live with that problems. And even then, we need to, learn to live life, not only, positively in our life, but also with kind of the same, same kind of enthusiasm to help each other, So when that becomes our way of seeing, way of doing, then I think we have learned how to deal with situation. And sometimes, however bad the outer obstacles or problems are, it cannot subdue us, cannot, kind of, it cannot destroy us, it cannot overwhelm us. And that is something very, very important way of dealing with the problem, which, is something I think many people forget, if there's a problem, the outer problem, and then we think that's it. It's so bad that that's it, and then I cannot. It's not the same. It's, yes, problem is bad. That's very bad. It's not good, but it's not something only happening to me. It happens to lots of people, to most of the people actually, sometimes. And how I solve a problem or how I deal with the problem is not only changing this situation, but also how I face that, how I deal with that, how I am acting and reacting concerning this situation and other situations, because there can be one situation, but there can be many other situations, Our life is not made of one thing, One thing is happening, it is very negative, it's very problem, it's very bad, but sometimes there is another angle to that problem, which is also sometimes not a problem, but something, something good. And also this is one thing that we, most of the time, have difficulties to look that way, yes, this is a problem, it's very not good, very bad, but what is, other, factor, which actually, because of that situation or that happening, there are some new openings, some, opportunities, some, some possible, good things could happen because of that also. I think this is also something that we have to focus, I was in India recently, everything, like especially like petrol and all these things, became very high, like every day. Usually what was happening was, when the price of the petrol raises, it is like 50 paisa or, 40 paisa, or, paisa means like 100 paisa is 1 rupee, yeah? It's like that. And then people go crazy, it's and then oppositions go, in the war path and things like that. This time it was not like that. Every time it raised, it's like 10 rupees, 8 rupees, raised like that. And not, once in like months. It's once every week it was going up like that, And then everybody was not even protesting too much. But that made, lots of people turn to electric cars, electric things. And I was a little bit surprised, positively shocked, because when I arrived in Delhi, there were so many electric Uber cars. I went to the airport in Uber electric car, you know. I never thought India will produce so many electric cars because, you know, a few years ago, I met the director of the science of the government of India, who was in charge of making the electric cars. And he was saying to me, oh, in India, we have all the technology, but I don't think we can make any electric cars because we don't have the material to make the battery. You know, they said that India doesn't have any, you know, this, what is it called, lithium? We have no lithium. You know, there is no lithium factory or something like that. Not factory, the mine. You know, all of them are in China. And one place in Africa. I don't know how it happened, but now there are so many electric cars and electric buses. You know, in recent years, you know, it was not there when I went back. It was just, you know, a few months before. So, you know, the raising of the prices and oil can also, you know, help to produce more technology that is maybe very good in many ways, you know, because the pollution and everything also goes down. And that, I think there are things like that also, you know, lots of things like this kind. So anyway, so I think I should not say too much because it would not be useful, as I said in the beginning. So now I open this for discussion. And you are most welcome to give any comments, any ideas, any questions, or tell any stories. I like stories. As I usually say, I like jokes also. But Germans have no jokes.
There's Steve Ringu that wants to ask some question. Steve.
Oh, we on, Rinpoche?
Oh, hello. You are there.
I'm somewhere. I don't have any funny stories. I'm getting over COVID again.
What?
Bad news is like
You
the
got
Omicron COVID. Yeah, I got it again.
How many
And,
times you got
turns
COVID?
well, this is just the second time, but it turns out that if you've had your shot and your booster, you're most likely going to catch Omicron, because we had a whole group meeting here and most of the people hadn't had any shots at all. They didn't get sick. Only me and Anila over here sick.
So you should not get it, no?
We've had all our shots, so it's like nothing really works anymore. But anyway, the question is, the problem I'm having, I'm trying to set up for your retreat in September, and every venue is full. Can't get in anywhere. One exception, I'm still waiting for the Joyful Journey Hot Springs to call me back. We might use their big room. They've got teepees and yurts and lots of nice hot springs. But if we can't get anything, how would you feel about doing the retreat in a tent up on Karmapa's property? Would that work for you? Can you hear me?
I didn't understand.
I'm saying I can't, you know, you're scheduled to come here in late September.
Oh,
to
me
teach
coming
for 2
there.
days in Prescott.
Me coming to America.
Yes.
Yeah, if that works.
Okay.
But we can't find any place. Dharma
Okay.
teachings are so popular now, every place is full. So
Okay.
but I can go rent a big circus tent and put it on the Karmapa's land. And we could teach from there. What do you think of that?
The other masters do it.
Hmm?
I mean,
Well, you decide. You decide.
Okay, thank you. Good to see you, Tashi Dele.
Thank you.
Any questions from here?
Yeah, I have a question.
Okay.
We can hear you.
This old theme of negative thoughts, you know, which are sometimes like a piece of glue which you can't get rid. You know, this negative thought comes, and you analyze it, and you say, yeah, okay, and then it disappears, and the next moment it's coming back. You know. And I think how to is it good to say mantras? You said one time to me, look at it like a cloud and it's going away. But sometimes it's good. You get rid of them, but some of them they are a little bit resistant.
Yeah, I think.
Negative Gedanken, die man nie loswerden. Manche sind ziemlich hartnäckig. Manche wird man los, aber manche kommen immer wieder.
I think as long as we are samsaric being, you know, we have negative thoughts and negative emotions and negative reactions. I think we have to accept this very natural, you know. I don't think there are very many people who doesn't have any negative emotions, yeah, or negative thoughts. But these negative thoughts, especially, it's something to do with which makes you not, you know, makes you feel bad, disturbs your mind, which is concerning about somebody, feeling, you know, that you don't kind of, you feel negative emotion towards somebody else. These emotions and these thoughts are not useful, no, not useful. There was a saying I saw recently. Now I'm thinking whether I remember it very well. It said that if somebody did something bad to you, most people try to take revenge. Then a good person will forgive. A wise person will ignore. Yeah, something like that. I'm not sure whether I got the right words, but I thought that was very nice. You know, I think that's very true. You know, if somebody says something, or did something, you know, a negative thought comes, and then I must feel, you know, I have to feel hurt, I have to feel bad, I have to do something negative, then it's you know, and then to kind of take a revenge or react in a bad way, it doesn't do much good, you know. And then you forgive it, that's very good. That's very good, but it, you know, Forgive means like, yeah, it was really bad, you know, she should not have done it, he should not have done it, you know, they should have not done it, but I am so good, I forgive, you know, yes, I'm forgiving all the time, and I have been forgiving all the time. It becomes a little bit heavy after some time. Yeah. But if you really learn how to ignore, you know, people keep on saying things, people keep on doing things. They are samsaric people, you know, they're like me. So what, you know? Then, you know, it's much easier. It's much easier. And I can let things, you know, pass through me more easily, no? A negative feeling comes and, you know, I'm hurt. I'm kind of somebody was not acting very bad, nicely, or not kind of reacting. Yeah, but so what, kind of, you know, then it becomes easy to deal with, I think. But we must also understand that it's not, we are samsaric beings, and we are samsaric beings for a very, very long time from Buddhist point of view, you know, very, very many lifetimes. And so these habits we have is not going to just disappear like this, you know. So it's okay, you know, I'm samsaric being. Of course, I have not negative thoughts, not only sometimes, many times. It's okay, you know, it's okay. So, but I don't need to hold on to that, you know, because that's not useful. So I think it's good to think that way. Yes.
So, in my understanding, in some of the tradition that I understand, they put a lot of focus first to purify yourself instead of acting in the world. Right? Their fundamental understanding is even if you try to do something good, but your understanding is distorted, so you'll end up doing more harm as compared to good. So I was asking how, let's say, if somebody comes to you to learn how you act properly, what would you teach them? Do you teach them to purify themselves first and then act, or just do your best as much as you can do? Know how to-
Also ich habe das jetzt nicht verstanden. Ich weiß nicht, also
Repeat it.
Frag und kannst du es
Ja.
etwas lauter?
A little bit
Oder
louder.
kann es vielleicht jemand?
Yeah, that's better. Yes.
Yeah. So the question that I was trying to ask is,
Closer.
in my understanding, I noticed in some of the Buddhist teaching, what they were suggesting is, instead of trying to do something good in the world, first try to purify yourself, purify your mind, and then try and do something good. You don't even have to do something good. Your Buddha nature will automatically express it. Yeah. So what I was asking is, let's say in a hypothetical situation, if somebody comes to you as a student, what would you suggest them? Would you suggest them to go in the world and do your best? Or would you suggest them to first do some meditation and purify yourself?
Kushal. This is Lotenla. He's a very famous Tibetan, very good singer and Tibetan independence activist, freedom fighter. And my good friend. I think it's like this, you know, purification, you know. Did you finish or not?
I think I explained.
In Buddhist practices, usually we have the main practice is two things, what we call purification and accumulation. Yeah. Purification means whatever negative things you did or you do, negative things you say, negative things you feel, like thoughts and emotions like this, you try to lessen them. You try to, let them go. The more you do, that's called purification, And accumulation is to increase your, whether it's a positive thought, positive emotion, positive, speech, positive action, to increase that. That's called accumulation, yeah? And these two are actually together because, the more you purify, more you accumulate. The more you accumulate, the more you purify, yeah? It's not two different things. It's actually one thing. And so when, you kind of have like what, a negative thought, then what you said, you do. You consciously allow that to go and instead do something positive. And that's the practice, yeah? So it's not that first you purify and then that's not possible, you can't totally purify everything and then, but there is sometimes recommended, and this is from all, it's not one school or one section. Any kind of negative things, whether it's in the thought or action or speech, you do something negative, then you say, you recognize that this is a negative thing I've done. This is not a good thing I did, I said something that was harming or hurting some people. I did something that is, harming or hurting somebody. I have some thoughts which is, which is bad against somebody, something. Then I try to recognize that, I recognize that I have some kind of a regret, this is not good. I should not do this. It's not useful and good for me. It's not useful and good for others. So I try to, I try to stop that and I try to do something good instead. That's the purification. We talk about 4 powers of purification, but it doesn't matter. But anyway, so that's the practice.
I think I was trying to ask is, you recommend these, because for us, we are not so much aware about these practices. Would you recommend that we should integrate some of those practices in our daily life? Or it doesn't really matter then?
It's very important. It's most important because, it's actually the whole, in Buddhist way of practice, it's everything is a training. Yeah, everything is exercise and training. So, we should try to reduce our thoughts, our emotions, our speech, our action. That is negative. Negative means causing problems, difficulties for yourself and others. That's negative. Yeah. So therefore, anytime you do those things, you have those things, you have these habitual things. If I make a kind of a little bit, habit, you can say, to recognize that they are not useful, they're not good, and then let them go somehow. Doesn't matter whatever method you use, you can just relax yourself. You can do something positive. You can just, make a note that I will not repeat them again, or feel that I will let it go. I don't hold on to that, whatever, you know. And then if there's a positive thought, or emotion, or, you know, action, then you say, oh, that's very good. I rejoice, I'm happy. And then I say, that's very nice. It's good to repeat that, good to, you know, and feel good about that, and appreciate yourself. So this is the practice, you know, this is practice. And sometimes there are rituals, there are kind of instructions on how to do that. Yeah, it's good to follow them also sometimes, but, you know, it's not necessary to do the same way all the time, you know. Like I said, you know, usually for purification, sometimes we say the 4 powers. And first, you recognize that this is a negative thing. Second, that you want to, you make a kind of what can you say, intention that you will purify them, you will get rid of them. Third, you know, you feel, or you make an understanding or note in yourself that you will not repeat that, you will not do it. And fourth, you do something, you do some antidotes for that, you know, whatever antidotes may be, some antidote you will do. So if you know, this 4 process is recommended as like a way to work on that. But, you know, you can do that also, but you don't need to do all 4 every time, you know.
There's still a question from internet, if we can.
There is one from there.
Okay. Yeah, nice to meet you. Yeah, in today's speech and today's discussion, we talked much about negativity and positivity, and also about hopes, which is something positive. And according to understanding of Buddhism, yeah, my understanding of Buddhism, there's no distinction between positive and negative. It all depends on our view, because everything is empty. So when I notice myself that I'm thinking something negative, like I feel bad because I'm thinking something negative. So it is, like, I heard that it is called a second arrow, hitting myself, second arrow. Like, I think of something negative, and then I feel bad because I am thinking something negative. So like I heard that, yeah, antidote or cure for this is seeing that there's no distinction between negative and positive. And you talked about hope at the beginning of the speech. And when we imagine hope for the future, like it can lead to attachment to happiness for the future. So I think there's also an unclear distinction between hope and attachment. So like, yeah, could you please talk about this distinctions?
Yes, yes, I need to talk about that. Actually, there's none of the Buddhist schools say that there is nothing called positive and negative, you know. Of course, if you look into the true nature of any action or any feeling, then you can say that that's interdependent, that's emptiness, that's impermanent. That's true, but there is positive and negative because you do something. You do something. When you say negative and positive, it is just this, that you do something, whether it's action, speech, or thought, including emotion, that brings something harmful to yourself and to the others, then that's negative, you know. And you can't say there's nothing like that, because there is lots of that, isn't it? Yeah. Now, positive means you do something, whether it's action, speech, thoughts, emotions, that is helpful, you know, that's beneficial to yourself and others now and in the long run. And that's positive, you know. And we have to be aware of that. And we have to, because otherwise what is there to practice, you know? Now, if you go in a deeper way, you know, say that even that, you know, ultimately everything is emptiness, you can say, yeah. But relatively, it's very, very important. And from Buddhist point of view, what we call the relative truth is a truth, because it's the way, it's the life, it's the works. So therefore, we cannot reject the relative truth, yeah. And relative truth is very, very important, because that's how we live life, you know. If I did only negative things, then it will be very bad for me, and it will be very bad for everybody around you, because, you know, you're doing something harmful. And so, you know, so therefore we can't say it's sane, you know. So this is, I think, important, yeah. And you said something different, something at the end. Hope, yeah. Now, hope, sometimes, redok in Tibetan, you know, is translated as hope and fear. Mm. And you have to let go of redok, they say, you know. But redok is, I think Reva can have two different meanings in maybe English, you know. One is hope, one is expectation. Yeah. So Reva can mean expectation, but it can mean also hope. Now, expectation is something that what is expectation? You know, like then the more you expect, the more you kind of you have not only attachment, but you know, it has to be like this, it has to be like this. It makes you that expectation is in your mind. So therefore, it will never be fulfilled, you know, because, you know, what I expect is something created by myself. So therefore, it could be most of the time different from how things are, yeah, because I expect. And when I'm not fulfilling that expectation, I feel bad. Yeah. If somebody is, you know, if people are there and I come now, they will be, you know, there will be, you know, some kind of reception, you know. So I think that there will be reception, and, you know, there will be dancing and singing and, you know, all kind of things. And nobody is dancing, nobody is singing. And, you know, what kind of reception did they give? You know, they didn't even sing and dance, you know. Then I can be, although they give a very good reception, but I can be, you know, unhappy, no? So therefore, these expectations are not very, but hope has a different meaning, I think, you know. If you lose your hope, that means, you know, you have no hope, you become hopeless, and then it's totally like, you know, it means something different, no? I have no hope means what? I mean, there is no possibility to have anything good, no? And that's not the fact, you know? And if you are totally hopeless, or, you know, you have totally lost your hope, that means then, you know, you are like very dark, yeah? So I think it's that is not the case, you know, that should not be. You should not have hopelessness. Of course, to have too much attachment to something, that's another thing, you know, because you are very like, you know, I must have this, I must get this, it must be like this, otherwise it will, that is attachment. I'm so clinging to something, because that's another problem, because, you know, we have lots of attachment, we have lots of clinging, but that's also something that is unrealistic, because, you know, I cannot, like, if I like this cup, and this, you know, this is nice cup, I must have it, I must get it, I must keep it, you know, I'm really attached with this. It becomes a problem. Now, first I have to say, you know, who belongs to this, you know, Christian, yes, can I have this, please, you know? And then she's a little bit, you know, this is, you know, I found it in a very nice shop and I paid a lot, and, you know, but then I say, I really want to have it, and then I get it. But then now I have a very small suitcase, you know? And then it can break, you know, and then I'm worried of breaking, and, you know, when it's broken, I break my heart. All sorts of problems. No, so it's attachment, and it can't really become mine, because it's just an illusion, you know, this is mine, but actually what is mine, you know? It's much easier and much better and much more comfortable and trouble-free if I use this very nicely. I use this, and then when I go, I just keep it here, because there's another cup somewhere. Then it's better for me and better for everybody, no? So that's.
Do you have any advice how to hope without expecting?
Now, hope is like, there's a possibility, you know, there's a possibility for better things, you know, there's always potentials, yeah, there's potentials to become better, there's potentials to actually, you know, from Buddhist point of view, you can even become a Buddha, you know. So, you know, you can not only become a Buddha yourself, it's possible that everybody can become a Buddha. And one day we will be able to do it, and we should hope that it is possible to get that, yeah? Without that, then why you do anything, yeah? So that hope is, I think, a positive thing. But, you know, too much like attachment or too much, then it's not, you know, that's the idea.
Sorry, I have a question which connects to other questions. So can I ask it?
Yeah, Mike, where's the mic?
So we know that there are some positive things and negative things, but at the same time, there is the possibility that we can understand things wrongly, and we can we can think that something is positive, but actually it can be our illusion or our mistake. So for that, we should have some kind of a system or some kind of a foundation, what we consider as positive or negative. Because for many people, like, it's very often happens that we consider as positive or negative something which is actually not so negative or positive. And here we comes to the problem of ethics. right? Because ethics allows us to, ethical system allows us to have some kind of orientation of what is good and what is not good. And you give us some of that like if we harm someone, that's negative, or you know. So my question, how to build this ethical system? Should it be individual or it's some kind of a universal? And yeah, maybe you can tell a little bit about ethics.
Yes. The first thing is that, as I already mentioned, positive and negative is also relative, you know. There's nothing absolute, you know, there's nothing absolute. Everything is relative. So, you know, positive can be relatively positive, negative can be relatively negative, and everything is relative, you know. But I think it is also important, you know, there's ethics, you know, there is generally ethics that we kind of, you know, something that we know is, you know, is problem, is harmful to, if I do that, if I do that, or speak like that, or, you know, think like that, is create problems for others and for myself, then I should try to refrain from doing that. And things that generally, or in the human society, or in that particular society, it creates, you know, something positive, something good, something helpful, then we should try to do it more. You know, that's the ethics. And actually, most of the law in the law of the land, almost everywhere, is more or less similar. You know, there are lots of ethics is based on, you know, what you do, what you don't do, you know. Then it's, of course, sometimes there are conflicting things also, you know, because those who make the law is, again, with not very, you know, not very, either not very wise, or they have their own interest, you know, things like that. But so usually, you know, anything that is harmful or, you know, disturbing, or creating some problems to each other is something not to do, and something that is helping and is good to do, you know. And this, you know, when you say ethics, it's, you know, it's for everybody, but who has to observe that? Each person has to observe that, no? Now this, I'm not always understanding clearly, because in the West, there is an idea that, you know, something you can do, what do I say? You don't say it publicly, you say it what? Socially, or I don't remember now what the word you use, but people think that this has to be done with everybody, and there's something different personally. But I think everything that you do publicly has to be done personally first, no? Because if each of us do it, then it's, you know, like, this is a kind of ethics. Yeah? Don't do this, you know, don't kill each other. Yeah, don't kill each other. But that has to be done by each person. Don't kill each other, no? Because otherwise, then where is the society? You know, society is made of so many people, and if each individual is not taking care of it, then there is no way called society, no? So it comes to the same thing. But anyway, it has to be, from Buddhist point of view, the importance is self-discipline. That's why I think maybe, I have to understand and I have to make a decision that it's not good for me and not good for others to do these wrong things, negative things. And if I observe that, then I am a positive person. Yeah, I'm an ethical person. And if that is, the more people do that, the more better the society becomes, because society is made of individuals. Yeah. So that's, and of course, some things can make into law that everybody is not supposed to do, but that's another thing. And that's, if she say people should not do this, that becomes a law. Each person decides that I don't do it. That becomes individual, or not individual, but that becomes ethics, because it's kind of a discipline. You kind of impose, not impose, but you follow by yourself. Okay.
Maybe
Okay.
we'll try a few questions from internet.
Huh?
There's two people waiting.
Oh,
for a
I see.
long
I didn't
time.
know. Quick. Hello.
Hi, Rimshay, how are you?
I'm okay. How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Yeah.
So I have a quick question. How does one discern, or is there a criteria for discerning whether a solution is actually a secret obstacle to a problem?
Not all solution is a secret problem, but that solution, if you do it in a little bit wrongly, then it is sometimes called a secret problem.
And so then how do you discern if you're doing it? So there, because your mind will produce a solution to a problem thinking if I do this and this and this, it might fix the problem.
If it is that fixes the problem, then it's not a secret solution, the secret problem.
Okay. There's no criteria or way of looking at what solution you're producing to check whether you're not fooling yourself, if you know what I mean.
Yes, I mean, it has to be, if it is something that it really solves the problem, or you know how to do that in the right way or right amount, or in the right balanced way, then it is a real solution. But it doesn't become something wrong with that. But you think it's a solution, and then you kind of insist it's a solution, but it becomes a problem by itself. Then it becomes a secret problem.
But then by the nature of it, it's very hard to see that that is actually a secret problem, because you're still believing it's the solution.
Yes, that's why the solution you should not be too much attached to the solutions. You have to learn how to any solution that's there, we try to find the right way and right balance, and the right amount, and a little bit, not to make it a problem by itself, like sometimes, we say this is what Buddha said, and we must do that. And if somebody is not doing it, we will kill them. It's a problem, isn't it?
Okay, there's another question from Dorothea.
Yes, I was wondering,
how we can remain positive while balancing being rational. So nowadays we talk about toxic positivity. So we're so positive that we lose a sense of reality, and maybe through our positivity we create a new problem. So I'm wondering how to keep a good balance.
Yeah, I mean, to be positive doesn't mean that everything will solve by itself and all the problems there's a, something will happen, and at the end everything will be fine. That's because that's not true. That's not true. But positive means that we have to look for the positive side also, for the not only to the bad side but also good side, and there's always something you can do, and you can live with some positive emotions and positive actions, and doing something that's helpful and beneficial to yourself and others, and adopting that way of life. That's more it, I think. Thank you. I think we will stop here. Thank you so much.
Over there, there's a little girl with a question.
Oh, you have a question? Oh, sorry. Yeah, this will be, you must bring the, yeah. Yeah, say it. It doesn't matter.
Kann den aber nicht auf Englisch.
Yeah. Oh, good. That's the most wonderful thing. Yes. You can say it in German. You can say it in whatever language you can.
Ein Sternforscher ging in eine Bar, in die Potter Bar. Da stand Potter an der Theke.
You translate. First you can say it all. Yeah.
Sagt doch mal von vorne anfangen. Ein Sternforscher ging in eine Bar, in die Potter Bar. Da stand Potter an der Theke und fragte, was willst du trinken? Da antwortete der Sternforscher, Milch bitte. Da sagte Potter, tut mir leid, aber die Milch ist in die Milchstraße gezogen.
Now I'll laugh second time, please. You come. Translate. No, you need the mic. You need the mic.
So a star investigator comes to a Potter. What?
Like this.
A star investigator comes to a bar.
Who? Astronomer.
Astronomer, okay, comes to a bar, and then talk in German again. In my mind.
You are not a very good translator.
An astronomer goes to a bar called Potter Bar.
What?
Called Potter Bar. Potter. Harry Potter from Harry Potter. Maybe can you translate it better?
Maybe he should translate.
Okay, so the astronomer goes into the Potter Bar, and Potter is at the bar and asks the astronomer, "What would you like to drink, sir?" And the astronomer says, "I would like a glass of milk, please." And Potter says, "I'm very sorry, but milk moved to the Milky Way."
She takes on her own.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Try to get some more, okay? Sunambi Tanje Zipanye, Tony Nipe, Danam Panje. Shaganaji, Walab Tripai, Subi, Soli, Doa, Show. Okay, thank you.